We'll start with number 12, the Cincinnati Bengals. God awful last year, 2-14. No reason to watch them. But guess what? One draft pick, that changes it all. You get Joe Burrow, the guy who had the best statistical season and best overall season in college football history. With what he did, with the numbers that he put up against the defenses and the caliber of teams that he played last year and how LSU destroyed everybody, I have no doubt in saying Joe Burrow had the best individual season we've ever seen. So with that, can he bring that momentum now to the Bengals? And you look who he has. A.J. Green, knocking on wood here, that he can stay healthy. That is a great number one target to throw to. You have Tyler Boyd, who really emerged in the absence of A.J. Green. So you have two great receivers to throw the ball to. You have Joe Mixon, a great young running back that's great at the backfield, can run hard. So right now, you have some weapons. They drafted T. Higgins. The Bengals, low-key, have some nice offensive weapons where Joe Burrow can put some points up. I don't think they're going to turn around and go from 2-14 to 10-6 and make the playoffs. You had the 49ers 2 years ago, 4-12, and then last year they go to the Super Bowl. That turnaround's not happening. But they'll be an exciting team. I think they'll be in some games. They'll be competitive. It'll be a spunky bunch. It'll be a lot of fun and very intriguing to see how Joe Burrow plays in his first NFL season, because I think there is a legitimate question of, was last year a flash in the pan? Was it a one-hit wonder? You look at all the talent, and again, you look at the defenses and the competition that Joe Burrow's played. You also look at the talent that he had at LSU. You look at all of the guys drafted off that team on offense and defense. That was loaded. They had one of the best overall rosters in football. So now he's going to obviously go to a decreasing roster, but hey, there's still weapons. You get A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, you draft T. Higgins. There are some weapons there for Joe Burrow to throw the ball to. I think it'll be intriguing. It'll be interesting. And also, here's another wrinkle here to throw in there that makes the Bengals more watchable, I think. Their defense won't be good. It's going to be pretty bad, which guess what that means? A lot of scoring for the other team. Which means, guess what? Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I think having a bad defense is good in this scenario because it's going to add for more high-scoring games, which people love, make the games more exciting. So I think number 12, Cincinnati Bengals, their record won't be good, but they will be one of those teams you always have your eye on, because I think Joe Burrow could really make some magic happen and continue that success he had in LSU, bring it over to Cincinnati, and at least make them fun watch in 2020. At number 11, the Houston Texans. This is tough because they have easily one of the best young quarterbacks in all the game, right? Deshaun Watson, equally super talented. I think Patrick Mahomes by far and away is the best quarterback in the league, let alone just the best young quarterback. I think in that second tier, you have Deshaun Watson. He's played well enough, and he's done so much with so little. And he deserves to be there as one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. So he's going to be exciting to watch. This is going to be interesting, too, because this is really a make-or-break year for Bill O'Brien. He's basically already going all in these last few years. He is the general manager and head coach. So he's making a lot of decisions to shape the roster the way he wants. A lot of those gambles are going to be interesting. He traded away DeAndre Hopkins. He brought in David Johnson. He traded for Brandon Cooks. So he traded away a reliable pass-catching number one receiver to bring in an injury-prone David Johnson, who has only regressed these last few years, to also bring in and replace Hopkins with an injury-prone Brandon Cooks. A smaller version, a speedster, which guess what? The Texans already have a bunch of, and another guy who has some serious injury questions. So he traded away one reliable, durable threat that Deshaun Watson had, a security blanket, let alone one of the best receivers in the game. You bring in two question marks injury-wise, and then running back at David Johnson, who's only regressed since he got his big contract, and Brandon Cooks, who is a nice receiver, but can't stay on the field. And again, he fits the mold that they already have. They already have small, fast receivers. Kenny Stills, Will Fuller. So we're just going to run four verts with those three guys every single play? I'm very nervous about what Bill O'Brien is doing offensively to surround Deshaun Watson, and I think this is a huge year for Bill O'Brien. If he doesn't win at least one, maybe two playoff games, they could tear this whole thing around, because the worst thing you need to do now is ruin Deshaun Watson. And there's no better blueprint to see that than what the Colts had with Andrew Luck. They didn't really surround him with weapons. They did not address the offensive line at all for the first few years of his career. He took a pounding. He still was good. He was still talented enough to carry that team, despite having no receivers, despite having a terrible offensive line. And he carried the team for the first few years, went to the AFC title game in 2014. And then guess what? Those injuries took a toll. The bad drafting took a toll. And all of a sudden, when he went down, the team just crumbled. I'm legitimately nervous that Deshaun Watson, the amount of hits, with the amount of sacks he's taken through the first few years, with now finally they're starting to address the offensive line, but in doing so, we're already overpaying. They paid Larry Tunsil, left tackle, $22 million a year. They reset the market and paid him an absurd salary because they had no other option. They traded a boatload of picks for him, couldn't get a contract negotiation then, and now basically you had Larry Tunsil hand them a blank check, and that's what the Texans had to do. So they are desperate. They're in cap hell. Their defense is getting older. The weapons are getting worse for Deshaun Watson. I'm nervous about the direction the Texans are heading in, which makes them watchable, which makes them intriguing, because I want to see how do they play, how do they react. They came off of that gut-wrenching, heartbreaking 24-0 lead in Kansas City to all of a sudden get blown out of the water, and next thing you know, you blink and they lose the game in Kansas City. That's the last game we saw. So, and again, I'm curious to see how these moves work out. I'm very skeptical about the Texans. I think they'll take a step back, but they still have one of the best young quarterbacks in all the game. Can he elevate the Texans and a poor roster around him to still get them to the playoffs and still save Bill O'Brien's job. That's something I'm definitely watching for sure. The defense is getting older. J.J. Watt still getting older, and guess what? The injuries are still starting to mount up. Whitney Merciless getting older. A lot of these key bedrock kind of guys that the Texans have built their defense on for years are starting to get up there in age. This is not crazy to say. This might be one of the last few years they have to make a legitimate run at it. Because eventually they're going to have to break down the defense. They're going to have to reset, either trade away some pieces or, unfortunately, have to cut some pieces and try to get younger on defense. Not to mention get younger, save some cap space. It's going to be interesting of how much longer this Texans team, as currently constructed, can stay together. This is really one of the last years they have to make a legitimate run at it. I'm interested to see how it works. So the Texans, for me, at number 11. At number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. Interesting, because at the wide receiver position, they kind of go with the Texans. They're going all in on speed. They drafted Jalen Reagor, a speedster at TCU. They traded for Marquise Goodwin, a speedster that was on the 49ers. You have Deshaun Jackson coming back after playing just 2 games last year. Those are 3 guys built on speed, built on throwing the deep ball. I'm interested to see what the offense looks like. I like Carson Wentz. I really believe that he's a very talented quarterback. But him and the rest of the team, their main question mark is health. They have a very solid roster. I really like what the Eagles have built, 1 through 53. They have a great defense, a great offense. The only question for them is they don't have the depth. They can't survive injury after injury after injury. In the last few years, they have suffered major injuries to major players. I mean, it's impossible to have that great of depth throughout the entire roster. So last year we saw the wide receiver was so depleted, they had a college quarterback be one of their go-to targets down the stretch in Greg Ward Jr. He was honestly the number 1 option. Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey on one leg, essentially hobbling around. Deshaun Jackson was gone after 2 games. You trade for Marquise Goodwin, you draft Jalen Reagor. They're going all in on speed, which could be very exciting to watch when you have Carson Wentz dropping back, throwing deep balls all over the field. The biggest question for the Eagles is going to be health. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be a good team. I think they'll win the division again. So that's why the Eagles are at number 10. They should be a fun, exciting offense, especially, and a fun team to watch. And we'll finish at number 9, the Miami Dolphins. So many questions. So much momentum built up that I think they'll be a fun team to watch this year. First major question, is Tua going to play? If so, when is he going to play? Will he stay healthy? I think that's obviously a major storyline to watch throughout the year. I think the Dolphins would be wise not to play Tua this year. Let him get fully healthy. Let the offensive line, more importantly, come together and see what you have. Because you can't protect it. There's no point in putting him out there and getting him hit extra and opening him up to getting some serious punishment. So that's going to be a major question mark is if and when Tua is going to play this year. They finished really strong last year. 4 games in, they are trending to be the worst statistical team in the NFL. And not just in 2020, in history. Yeah, the Browns go 0-16, the Lions go 0-16. Those are some bad teams. The Dolphins were trending in every single stat to be the worst team in NFL history. They turned that around, finished strong. I like what they did in free agency. I like what they did in the draft. So what is the next step for them? Can they get to 7 wins? They're 5-11 last year. Can they get to 7 wins? Is that a crazy jump to think? Because I really like the momentum they took, the strong finish from last year, built that in free agency, built that in the draft. So I like what's coming in Miami. So the question is, can they be a spunky bunch? Can they be a team that pushes teams around the AFC East? Their record won't be great. Like I said, I think a great year for them would be 7-9, an ultimate great year. And if so, if that's the case, can they push some teams around? Will they be a tough out even those games they lose? Will they fight hard? I think they will. So the Dolphins, to me at least, are a very exciting team in that regard and reason why to watch because the storylines of when and if Tua is going to play, how he's going to play. And then again, I like the momentum the Dolphins are carrying over from 2019 into 2020. Brian Flores is a great coach. Turned him around. You could see the team has the buy-in for sure, which is very important. We have a young coach for sure. So I like what's going on down there in Miami. There was some live golf to watch this weekend as yesterday. You had the match 2.0, Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning going against Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. To me, it lived up to all expectations. The goal was to raise money for COVID-19 relief, raise $20 million. So credit to TNT, credit to those 4 athletes, credit to everyone who donated. They had plenty of cameos throughout the show. We had Brooks Koepka tweeting out that he was going to donate some money. Russell Wilson come on live and do a closest to the pin donation as well. So it was great to see all these athletes and all these players of significant influence raising money again for COVID-19 relief, $20 million. So that's first and foremost a great cause. That happened there for sure, and a lot of great money, again, to help the fight of coronavirus. So we do appreciate that, and that is obviously a big accomplishment. But also, watching the match yesterday, that was the most realistic watching golf I've ever felt, and that's why it felt so good to watch, and it was so relatable. Like me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a casual golf fan. I watch the majors, I watch the playoff, but for the most part, I don't really get into golf until the Masters roll around in April, and then all the majors I'll watch throughout the summer. But other than that, I'm not gonna watch a lot of these smaller tournaments, or if I do, it won't be till Saturday or Sunday. So I'm definitely a casual golf fan for sure. But watching yesterday was definitely the most realistic and the most relatable watching golf I've ever felt. And it's not a knock, it's just when you watch professional sports. These athletes are the best of the best. They are able to accomplish things and do things athletically that we couldn't even dream of doing in our lives. and they do it and make it look easy. And golfers are the same thing, right? They hit 330-yard drives. They hit these insane shots, these insane, irons that will hit a driver the same length that these guys hit like an 8-iron. Just an easy swing for them. So it's never relatable. You kind of get lulled in when you're seeing these guys day after day, weekend after weekend, year after year, just constantly hitting these great shots every time. And going to the match, I kind of expected that because, all right, you have Tiger Woods and you have Phil Mickelson, right? Two pros, two all-time greats. And obviously you have Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, two football players, not golfers. But I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to just seeing golfers just play so well. But watching Tom Brady and watching Peyton Manning on the first hole, on the first tee shot, both missed the fairway. Tom Brady, I believe, hooked his and Peyton put his in the woods or vice versa. Either way, both tee shots were awful. If me and you were on the course, that's what it felt like watching. And it was just so refreshing to see because it's like, wow, not everyone is an all-time great golfer. Not everyone can put in the fairway with ease. Not everyone can tear up the course, go for birdies, go for eagles, and basically have a par be like, that was a decent hole. Or for me and you, par is a great hole. I played last Thursday. Yeah, 9 holes. I had 1 birdie putt. It was the greatest feeling ever. I missed it. I 3-putted. I got a bogey. That was the best hole of the day. He would have a chance to get on the green, to even putt for a chance to even get par. I was like, this is a great day. Hit 2 shots straight in a row. I'm like, you know what? I'm hanging them up. This is golf. I'm done. I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. And again, to watch these guys struggle, at least Brady and Peyton Manning, Tom Brady to me became a lot more likable yesterday. It was so humanizing to see him struggle, to see him spraying tee shots left and right, to see him hitting out of the sand, hitting out of the bunker, hitting out of the woods. It was refreshing and it was humanizing to see a great athlete, the greatest football player of all time, struggle with something. We never see him struggle ever. The guy's 43 years old, defies age, and he's still playing at a high level and enough to where the Buccaneers gave him a massive contract. And now you look at the betting odds, you look at predictions, the Buccaneers are a Super Bowl contender just because Tom Brady went there. So this guy accomplishes and succeeds at everything he does. But it was great to see him struggling, missing putts, having Phil kind of encourage him. He's having a good time with the ribbing. And everyone, especially the first felt like 6 or 7 holes, everyone was giving Tom Brady a hard time on social media, on Twitter. Charles Barkley in his ear talking trash to Brady. It was awesome to see someone that's so elite, that's so good in one sport, so dominant in one sport, and so successful, actually struggle for once. So I love the trash talk. Peyton Manning was giving it to him. He was giving it right back. I loved everything about it. And again, watching the players struggle, to me at least, was made it so relatable. Me, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady all have something in common. We all can't get off the tee. We all have issues keeping it in the fairway. It was awesome to see. It makes it more relatable. And for me, it made Tom Brady more likable because he's human. He looks like a robot in certain circumstances. He has this TB12 method. He doesn't eat strawberries. He always stretches, drinks, feels like 10 gallons of water a day. He operates like he is superhuman. On the football field, he looks superhuman. But on the golf course, he looks like me and you. He looks like an average Joe. So I thought that was really cool. Gave Tom Brady a humanization, if so. And at least to me, made Tom Brady more likable. I also loved players who were mic'd up. There was some great access, great insight. You had Phil Mickelson coaching. Tom Brady gave some great tips, what to look for, how to read the greens, how to putt it. I thought that was some great insight. And I thought it was awesome kind of hear a professional player go through the process. So many times we see these guys on TV, they're talking to themselves or talking to the caddy. We can't really hear it. So we don't really know what's going through their mind when they're going on an approach shot or they hit a shot that doesn't look great, let's say, but they actually accomplished what they wanted to because they wanted to get in a certain spot. Because they knew that that's what's going to make their third shot easier. All right, so I'm going to hit it to the left. Oh, that was only a great shot. The pin's all the way on the right. They hit it to the left. But they know they hit on the left on purpose because they realize it's going to be an easier way to get on the green than me and you maybe would think. So hearing the process of how these players kind of think and approach each hole, I thought was awesome. Other sports leagues should take note. Again, we're discussing if sports comes back, what it's going to be like without fans. We discussed on Thursday, Fox and Joe Buck discussed how they're going to put crowd noise underneath the broadcast of NFL games to kind of make up for the lack of no fans in the stands, or if there are fans, very little fans in the stands. And I think networks and sports leagues should take notice of how cool it is to hear players mic'd up, hear them talking and going through the process, and just hearing them discuss going into each shot. Obviously, you can't have them mic'd up like they were because it's just a competitive disadvantage. Talk about your secrets and your plays if you're in the NBA or the NFL. But I think you can definitely have more mics around the field when there's no fans and definitely replay more of conversations that go on. And I think it would be a great insight for fans. Take fans behind the curtain, which I think would be a bonus for sure. And again, make the players more relatable. So I think that's something that the network should look into. And I thought no crowd noise or fans worked. It helped that they were mic'd up. It helped that they had interviews throughout the match. So again, that fills some dead air per se that you really can't do realistically during a real game that counts in any other sports league. But I thought it was a great way to have these athletes connect more to the fans. And if sports leagues, the NBA, the NHL, MLB, could somehow recreate this when they resume, and assuming that they resume without fans, I think that would be an overall win for us, the viewers.